I don't even know what I'm gonna say in this video, but I just feel like I need to process. So last week, as I'm filming this, it's been a week since match day, the APPIC internship match day. And if you follow me on social media, you know that I did not match in phase 1. So that means I am moving, or have moved, into phase 2 of the match. And I have a lot of very conflicting feelings about it, because unfortunately for me, not matching in phase 1 of APPIC was kind of like one of a few, I don't even know how to categorize them, awful, bad things that happened that week. I would say not matching, I would categorize as like unfortunate, and the other things were much worse than that. So the way that I'm kind of processing being in phase 2 is probably different from other people who are in phase 2, because it's kind of like not my biggest concern. But there are a lot of feelings of like confusion, disappointment, sadness, anger, like all of those things. But it's kind of hard to tease apart. Is it because I didn't match, or because of other things that were happening that week? But this video is about my feelings being in phase 2, so I'm going to kind of keep it there. Throughout the process of like doing applications, interviews, I felt pretty good about things. I had 8 interviews, and I thought they all went really well. There was only one that I didn't really feel went well, and not that I didn't I didn't present myself well, but it was very clear that that site was not a fit for me, so I ended up actually not ranking it. But the week leading up to match day, like I said, there were other things that were going on, but specifically about APPIC, I had this feeling that I wasn't going to match. Like before that week, I'd been preparing myself, like I'd been really excited about I would say my top like 3 sites. And then I was preparing myself for if I matched at a lower ranked site. Because reality is, I ranked those sites because I still felt they were a good fit. I just happened to like other sites better. So I was like preparing to maybe not match in the ones that I was like really hoping for. But I would have been fine, maybe a little disappointed, but still okay if I matched lower. But then that week, something hit me, and it felt like I was preparing myself to not match. I don't know why. It was just like a feeling that I had. And when I woke up on Friday, my plan was to wait until 10 to log into the portal to see my match results. The way that it goes is that they send an email to everyone between 8 and 9 a.m. Eastern. And apparently in the past, some people get that email, some people don't, whatever. So I told my family, okay, I want you guys on Zoom with me when I find out. We'll just do it at 10 when I know it'll be in the portal. But then that morning, I didn't want to wait, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to be on Zoom anymore with my family. And so I looked at my email and saw the email that said that I didn't match. And when I opened that email, I felt a little numb, a little unsurprised, hurt, like all of these feelings. But I was just kind of like, okay, cool. And I think something that's really frustrating about phase 2 of the match is that nobody talks about phase 2 until you're in it. And at that point, everything moves so fast. So at 10 a.m. or as early as 8, you can know that you didn't match. As late as 10 a.m. is when you can go into the portal and see. And then at 11 a.m., phase 2 starts. All of the sites who still have open positions are listed in the little thing. You have to check all of those things. You if your program has like a supportive DC2 who's like helping you through this next phase, you probably have to set up a meeting with them. But applications are due the following Thursday at 11 a.m. You essentially have 6 days, including the weekend, to put all your materials together for phase 2. And it's frustrating because everyone is like, oh, take the time you need, take care of yourself, relax. But there's really no time to relax when you have 6 days to put together however many cover letters and any other changes you want to make to your application in 6 days. When the rest of your program is still going on. I still had 2 days of practicum. I still had research. Thursday is a day of all classes for me. So it just felt like a scramble with people trying to get information out about phase 2. And I understand why people don't talk about phase 2 until it's happening, but I wish I had paid more attention to the information about phase 2. But of course, you don't pay attention to it because ideally you're not having to worry about it. It's fine. Because at this point, this is a little over a week from match day. I submitted my applications before the deadline, which I also think the deadline being 11 a.m. on a Thursday is rude. Like, you can't even do the end of the day or the end of Friday. Like, I understand. Let me back up. Phase 2 is so expedited. So you have 6 days to submit your application. Some sites can extend the application deadline, whatever. Interviews happen. They're very brief. So in phase 1, I had a lot of interviews that were all day. In this phase 2, I've already gotten some interviews, which is really great. The interviews are like, I have any that are 20 minutes to 4 hours. Like, it really just depends on who you're interviewing with and how they're setting up their own interview day. But then you submit your rank list March 15th, and then a week later on March 22nd is phase 2 match day. So this expedited process, it's a month, and I'm glad that it's quick because I am so tired of these applications and doing this that doing it any longer than a month would just be overkill. But when you're not prepared to go through that, you are scrambling. And now I'm scheduling these interviews, which is exciting because I actually like a lot of the sites that I applied to in phase 2, and it's easier to schedule them because they are, 30 minutes here, an hour there. But because of the other stuff that I mentioned that happened last week, now I've got difficulty in scheduling. So it's just a lot. And I am really frustrated because there's a lot of like support, I would say, from people who have not matched in the past, but it's frustrating to get the kind of advice and insight where it's like, oh, well, I didn't match in phase 1 and that really sucked, and I know exactly how you feel, but in hindsight, like, it doesn't matter where you do your internship. Like, people aren't going to look at your internship down the road, which is true, but I feel like that advice is probably better for people who matched at the bottom of their rank list and not people who haven't even secured an internship yet. Like, I know that even though I didn't match with my top 3 sites, and the sites I'm applying to now, some are very similar, but I don't have an internship. And to say nobody cares where you do your internship is like, okay, let me get one before you start saying that to me, please. So that's kind of where I am with that. But I'm really grateful to everyone who has been so kind and supportive And just like reaching out and stuff. I think I debated whether or not I would share on social media that I didn't match, and I did for a couple of reasons. One is I remember the people who didn't match last year and they shared it. And remembering that makes me feel better because I remember, okay, this is something that happens to people. It happens. Two, I share a lot of things on my social media, and for me to not share that, I felt was not, it would have been uncharacteristic of myself. And three, I want people in the future who potentially don't match to be able to see someone who was very open and vulnerable and was like, I didn't match. And then down the line, we'll see that I did match somewhere. I did get an internship and everything was okay. Just trying to get to that point right now, but sorry, my camera died. I just wanted to share the complex and conflicting feelings I have about being in phase two. I think it'll be fine, but I also thought phase one would be fine. I don't know. I've kind of taken a lot of time to think about like how I would feel should this not go my way again. And that's definitely not something I would recommend, but the algorithm that they use for APPIC is so confusing, so technical, that it's very possible that this could happen again. And at this point, I'm applying to places that only have one position open versus in phase one, a lot of the places had all of them. So it was like 5, 4, 10. And now it's like, I'm trying to get that one spot you have left. So, I don't know. There's no like fun way to be like, ooh, I'm in phase two, because that's not where anyone wants to be. And I definitely made the mistake of looking at the match statistics that they put out. And I'm going to be so honest with you, I think looking at that is what really messed me up, because they break it down between clinical psychology, counseling psychology, and school psychology, and then they divide it between PhD and PsyD students. So you can see how many school psychology students total applied. You can look at how many PhD school psych and PhD PsyD school psych, and then you can look to see how many of each of those things match and each who didn't. When I tell you, I looked at that and it said 11 school psychology PhD students did not match. That sucked, because 11 is such a small number. Granted, the school psychology students who apply during this time it's nowhere near as many clinical psychology students. But to say that 11 PhD school psychology students didn't match in phase one, I'm one of them, that really sucked. That really, really sucked. So now I'm trying not to think about that number. It's whatever. I know that my application materials were strong. I know that they were really great. I know that, one, because I got interviews at my top 3, like when I was applying, the 3 sites that I really wanted interviews for, which I knew were super competitive, I got interviews for them. And then I felt those interviews went really well. And I might do another video where it's like do's and don'ts of phase two, but one of the do's I would say is reaching out to the directors of maybe either your top 3 sites or the sites that you thought your interview went really well. And I asked if they had any feedback for me for how to like really like strengthen my applications or interviews in phase two. And all 3 said that my applications and interviews were excellent, which is nice to hear, but it's also like, well, other people were better because you didn't rank me as high. But going into phase two, it makes me feel like, okay, I don't need to like revamp who I am or how I present myself, because I did that very well in phase one. It just didn't work out. So I'm focusing on the interviews that I do have and how I can really maybe be more direct in how like those training programs fit my needs moving forward, and how I would be a great asset as an intern. Because I didn't change my essays. I didn't change my I mean, I updated my CV, but I didn't like change anything about the structure. The only thing I changed were my cover letters, because I had to, because I applied to new sites. And even then, a lot of what I used in those cover letters stayed the same. So that's that. Phase two is in motion. We'll see how I feel about doing any other videos about it, because it's a very quick process, and I don't know. I don't know. But thanks for listening. I hope, you know, in the future, if someone comes across this because they ended up in phase two, I hope this is either helpful or just kind of validates like the conflicting, weird feelings that you have about being in phase two. But I will catch you guys later.